Hey everybody! Today we're going to be tying a jig pattern for bluegill. It's a really natural and buggy jig that works real well. So I'm going to be tying this one on a 1/64 ounce jig head. I powder painted this with ProTec Disco Autumn. For the thread I'm going to be using a brown UTC Ultra Thread 70 denier. We're just going to start that thread behind the head and take it down to the point of the hook. For the tail I'm going to be using a rabbit zonker. This is barred black olive, but you can use whatever natural color you like. So I've just taken a few of those fibers and I'm going to cut them from the hide. And then we're going to measure it out so it's about the length of the hook shank. And then you can pinch those on right there and tie them down tight, just right at the point of the hook. Make sure you secure those down really tight before you let go. Cover all that fur that you're tying down, and then tighten it again as you bring it back down. Then you can bring your thread to the head, and you should have a nice even tail. So now we're just going to build that up with our thread. Since we didn't have a lot of fur, we're just going to build that up a bit so that it doesn't have too much of a taper. And if you have any extra material laying around, like extra fur or feathers or chenille, you can use that to fill in that area if you don't want to use up a ton of thread. Alright, for the hackle on this, we're going to be using a rooster saddle hackle. This is a size 18 variegated brown. So when I tie those in, I like to strip a few of the fibers off, just so you're down to the bare stem. So we're just going to secure that right there at the tail. Just give it a couple good wraps. And then I'm going to add a piece of copper wire. This is just a fine copper wire. This will just give us a little extra flash on this and give us a sort of segmented body. So I'm just going to tie that in so that the tag end goes up to the head. So for the base of the body, I'm just going to be using a few fibers of brown pheasant tail. Use about 5 or 6 fibers. And just tie those in. It doesn't really matter how far the tag ends go up as long as you have enough to tie in. Just because they're so thin, they won't build up bulk on the body. So we're just going to secure those in well with the wire and the stem of the feather. Just tie all of those into the head, and then we're going to start wrapping our pheasant tail. So I like to use the rotary function of the vise to do that. Just make sure you keep constant tension, and you should have a nice even body. My thread got caught, so I'm just going to bring that up to the head, and that will also secure the feathers down, so not a big deal. Once you got those tied in at the head, you can just secure those down the rest of the way. And then you can clip these off. If they don't stay together, you'll just have to clip them off one at a time, which is not a big deal. Or you can get them all at once if possible. And then now we're going to wrap our copper wire. So I like to wrap that the opposite way that I wrap the pheasant tail. These counter turns just help it stay tied down and keep together so the fish don't destroy it as easily. So we're just going to do nice even turns with that copper wire as you bring it up to the head. And that copper wire will hold its shape, so if you let go of it, it's not a big deal. Just secure that down. And then you can helicopter that off. Just keep twisting it around until it breaks. Do a couple more wraps of thread just to make sure everything's tied down. And now we're going to wrap our hackle feather. So we're just going to follow that copper wire, just wrap right in front of that. And if we follow that, it should give us nice even segments. And the hackle should lay down nicely. I like to make sure that hackle fibers are pointing toward the back of the jig, but if they're pointing to the front, that's not a big deal. This is just the way I like to do it. And now we're just going to secure this hackle feather down with our thread. Give it a few tight turns. Be really careful as you clip the tag end. You just don't want to cut too many fibers if you can help it. And now we're going to whip finish. So take your time here, just keep the whip finish turns in front of those hackle feathers and try not to get them to lay on top of the feather. And then pull it tight and cut the thread. And there we have it. This is a really buggy and natural bluegill jig. You can tie it in whatever colors you like. I really like this brown and olive. It seems to produce really well for me. You can see that rabbit fur gives it a really nice action, especially in the water. It even has a better action than marabou, which is really cool. So give this one a try. I'm sure you'll like it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell to make sure you're notified of all future uploads. See you next time.